Hi, it's Mark Owen from Moose Marketing and PR, the editor of Punchline magazine, and welcome to Punchline Talks, the business breakfast briefers, where each week I invite a panel of experts to go over and review the morning newspapers, find out what's going on in their own business sector and their own individual businesses, and finally, what's caught their eye in this week's Punchline. I'd like to introduce a fantastic lineup today. We've got Simon Ford, the CEO of Allstones and Speedy Skips, David Jackson, the Director of Marketing Cheltenham, Neill Ricketts, CEO of innovation firm Versarien, and new to the show as well is Wendy Walker, Director of Wotton Travel. Hi guys, thanks for joining us today.
Morning, Mark.
And I actually managed to get through the intros. Let's quickly run through the papers, what they're saying at the moment. We've got the Citizen newspapers, Fly, Tippers, Blight, our beautiful area. The Western Daily Press, probe into blaze at West Resorts Pier. The Times, get jabbed or miss the fun, advertising to the young. The Daily Telegraph, universities set entrance exams amid A-level chaos. The Daily Express, bitter blow for savers facing more years of misery. They're saying that inflation is going to rise. The Daily Mail, the height of hypocrisy. The Guardian, extra cash for medical schools, a grade surge. That might actually help us here in Gloucestershire. The Sun, here starting the red tops, something completely different. I'll take a bullet for Geronimo. All about an alpaca. Yes, let's move on. The Daily Mirror, Johnson's the pits. He praises Thatcher for 200,000 jobless and devastating the communities. And that's all about the miners closing the mines and how it's helped the environment. And then finally, the Daily Star, no bars at work, are they having a laugh? This is where they're saying that people want to ban jokes at work and having any fun. Well, anyway, talking about fun, we'll go straight over to Wendy. Hi, Wendy, thanks for joining us today.
Morning.
Right, what have you picked out for us, please?
Okay, so obviously being in the travel industry, there's an awful lot of focus on various things to do with my business at the moment. So I've gone for the Mail, and it's about the furious Brits flying to Mexico, find out mid-air that the country is being put back on the red list with 3 days notice at a cost of a ticket back to the UK before the deadline soars to £7,000. So what's happened? These people have booked a holiday to go to Mexico, which was on the amber list. And halfway there, mid-air, the government have decided it's going to have to go back on the red list, which means when they get back, they have to go into an isolation hotel, which is going to cost in excess of £1,500 per person, plus all the testing. And also they've just put the price of the isolation hotels up by about another £500. So it could be close on to £2,000 per person. And bearing in mind, on board this aircraft, you don't just have couples, you have families, and it's going to cost that on their return. So everybody is panicking about how they're going to get back to the UK. And some of them are trying to fly out via Miami. Of course, you can't go into the States. We can't transit through the States. So I think they're going to find it quite difficult. From what I understand, British Airways are allowing people to change their tickets without any fees, and they're sending more aircraft out there to try and bring people home so that they don't get caught. But it was we found it quite sad but amusing yesterday that one couple had flown out and they had paid £8,000 for their holiday for a day trip to Mexico because they had to turn around and come back the following day. And it's just, it strikes me, I understand things having to move, and this is why they had this Amber Plus list, this watch list, which is the one that the government introduced as probably not a wise move for anyone to go on holiday if something's on the Amber watch list, but that's now gone. So you could be on your way to Spain and suddenly you're halfway there, or when you get there, you're there for 2 days and you've got to come back within 3 or 4 days because the government aren't giving enough notice to people. At one stage, they said they were going to give a week's notice before they put something on a red list. They're not doing that now. They're actually giving these people 3 days to turn around and come back. So it's just if you're halfway on your holiday, my advice would be to anyone that's booking a holiday, watch where you're going. If something's just gone onto a green list or a red list, make sure you go within days of that going onto a green list. Make sure you go on your holiday right at the beginning when the government put that onto that new list. Don't leave it till 2 weeks later, because the government are coming out with these changes in their listing every 3 weeks. So you've got a 3-week window, and I wouldn't leave it toward the end of the 3rd week to go on your holiday. That's what's happening in our industry at the moment. It's just completely up and down. So that was an interesting story. The other one I thought was quite fun was the Strictly Come Dancing lineup is starting to come out now, and of course last year we had 2 women dancing together, and it seems this year we're going to have 2 guys dancing together. So that's going to be interesting to see how they work out their moves in Strictly. So I'm quite looking forward to that as well. A lot of people don't like Strictly. I love it. So yeah, that's my stories this week.
Oh, that's great. Thanks ever so much, Wendy. I'd love to see Simon and Neill dance together. That'd be a show on its own. Simon, what have you caught? What's caught your eye in today's Punchline? Thanks, Wendy.
Punchline or the newspapers?
Sorry, the newspapers.
Okay, all right. So I was going with the Times on a free sausage when you get your vaccination in Germany.
A free what? Sorry, sausage.
A free sausage. Yeah, you get a free sausage every time you get your jab. And sticking with the theme of really important bits of news, merry bands of nude men rival walkers in Sherwood Forest. Apparently lots of nude men are walking around Sherwood Forest and upsetting other walkers there, and rightfully so.
And right.
And then I went on to a bit related to Wendy, the famous paper, the Western Daily Press, a bit about overseas travel demand surges. And I actually think it's a combination of revenge spending, where people have been locked up and they haven't been able to go on holiday and they haven't been able to spend money, and now they're doing it big style, So we've got a pent up holiday allowance for all our staff, and they're all desperate to get abroad and all this stuff. And I think they're deluded, to be brutally honest. I think they should go away in the UK. I don't think they should risk, anything abroad, because like Wendy says, 1 minute it's on one list and 1 minute it's on another. So, your only option really is to go away in the UK, and then you're not on any list, are you? But we've experienced it.
It's very difficult to say that though, Simon, in some ways. I do kind of agree with you, but if I was in Wendy's shoes, obviously running a travel business, you want to try and push people to go abroad. She suddenly turned around and said, you know what, no one's allowed to buy skips anymore. I really stopped advise people, no more skips. I'm sick of seeing Speedy skips everywhere. It'd be a different story. I mean,
it'd be. I could retire then.
We found that a lot of people are booking for next year anyway. Not many people are booking. Not many people are booking for this year.
No, I think you've got to be crazy. I'm sorry to even try. I can understand why you'd want to. I can understand that we all need a break. We all want to fly somewhere guaranteed weather. Yesterday was hammering it down here, wasn't it? And I was thinking all the poor people down in Cornwall, Devon, and on holidays. And I can understand that, but at the same time, to actually risk thousands and thousands of pounds and just the stress of it all.
Well, what Wendy was talking about, there's people in Mexico. Look, let's be honest with ourselves. They know the risks. They know what they're doing. They know they're risking $7,000 or whatever it is. So, that's their problem, isn't it? It's not ours.
No, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
The last one I got was out of the Times, was apparently there's a Goldilocks planet that may harbour seas, where some doctor in Porto has found a planet that is so far away from a certain star that it can warm up and produce water, maybe. So anyway, there's another planet that may harbour life. So we may be able to move there once this pandemic's over.
We're going to destroy this planet, so we're going to try and find and ruin another planet and have holidays there, perhaps, Wendy. David, thanks ever so much, Simon. Let's go over to you, sir. I've got you twice on my screen here, which is rather bizarre because it moved. David, what have you picked out for the papers, please?
Yeah, morning, Mark. Well, not surprisingly, I guess, given my role, I picked out the one that's in most of the headlines, most of the papers this morning, the festival's insurance policy, which has been long awaited, as we know, and much called for by the industry. I think the fear is that it might be a little bit, clearly too little, too late for this year. Although here in Cheltenham, clearly we're looking forward to at least some return of festivals and events, being the festival town, which is very much what we're renowned for. But I think the concern certainly being shown by the industry in the commentary is exactly that. But also, are we going to be able to afford the premiums, let alone whether the government might well be backing and underwriting the insurance policy? So, clearly a lot of these events, particularly the smaller events, and perhaps I'd include some of those that are going to be in and around Cheltenham and Gloucestershire, they're not necessarily making huge amounts of margins and profit, and in some cases some of them are charitable as well. So I think the concern there is that this might well be okay for your Glastonburys and the like, but actually for some of those smaller players, the concern is it may not go far enough, and obviously we've already lost a lot of those for this year, and a lot of the capacity and the impact on the supply chain, which is going to take more than just a year to recover. So I think let's see, let's take it for what it is. It's a positive news, and we're thankful for that. But on top of the assistance and the cultural funding that's already come through, but when you look at the impact that the loss of festivals this year, our own festival, obviously, horse racing, but also things like the air tattoo, things like badminton, things like the tall ships. We've got some really world-class festivals and events that happen each year in Gloucestershire that just haven't happened. And on £1 billion industry just for the county alone, it's a big impact. So fingers crossed, obviously, for next year, and that it does come to fruition, and we rely on that. And it also puts the confidence back in the industry to get those on sale quickly, so that we can get the punters back in. So that's a big story this morning, and I'm sure there'll be more commentary on that throughout the day. I think the other one was just a sort of, well, the couple, a bit of a light-hearted one, I think, in the Guardian, actually, which whether you can see that there, but this is a story about there you go, off the back of I think we all, well, certainly I did anyway, having two relatively young daughters, watching the things like the skateboarding and what have you this week, and young Sky Brown getting her bronze medal, but and feeling very old about it, of course, with the average age being about 13 or 14 or something. But I was heartened this morning to read in the Guardian about Dallas Oberholzer, who is a South African. At 46, he took part in the men's skateboarding, and 6 years ago took up skateboarding just because he thought, well, I'd heard it was coming to the Olympics, so I thought, I haven't got anything else to do, so why the hell not? He came last in his heat, unfortunately, but I thought there's hope for us all. I'm 42 myself, and I'm not wishing to suggest ages across the panel here, but perhaps there's hope for us all still in that story. So well, that was a little positive this morning.
No.
And then maybe lastly, just one on I think again back headlines of most newspapers this morning is Lionel Messi, and I just wanted to put a call out there and start the campaign early for perhaps Messi to come to Cheltenham, just as we're starting to. Tomorrow marks the start of the season, and good luck to the Robins at Crewe, and perhaps we might encourage Messi to perhaps come and have a season in League One. I don't know, but yeah, good luck for the new season, because obviously it's first season for a number of years in League One. So just thought I'd mention that as well.
No,
he could come to Forest Green Rovers, actually, couldn't he? Just up the road from me.
I think they couldn't afford a shoe of his, actually, to be honest with you. Right, Neil, thanks ever so much for that, David. Brilliant. Neil, thanks for joining Punchline Talks today. Neil, what have you picked out the papers? Neil, you're muted, Neil.
I turned it off.
Oh no, I preferred it muted. All right, okay.
Quick canter through the papers. What we've got here is obviously the Cyber Park. Big news that this massive innovation centre is making progress. They've now got the developers to take on board that campus, and what a fantastic opportunity for the county to engage with GCHQ, make Cheltenham the cyber centre for the UK, and build a really big innovation centre on the back of that. Can't wait to see that come to fruition. And obviously there's lots of opportunities there, Simon, for Skip. So keep your eye on that one. We'll put that one to one side. A couple of other ones I did pick up about the fly tipping. I think as business leaders, we've got to take on board that actually it's not just selling the goods. We've got to be responsible also for what happens to those, whether it's the environment or in this particular case, fly tipping. You know, why can't we print the details of the customer on the packaging, or why can't we kind of address this? I was an army brat, and I was born in Singapore. I know that you like to talk about your exploits, Mark, but the only thing I managed to do was get born in a hospital, in British Military Hospital. $500 fine if you drop litter in Singapore, and so there's no litter. And I think sometimes we're just a little bit too complacent. You know, when was the last time anybody stopped anybody for throwing any litter? And but there we go. The other big story in the Citizen is there's this £2 million fund to help the county recover from COVID, and that's going to be dished out to the various parish councils and what have you. Did
you only buy the Citizen today, mate?
No, I've got more here, mate. We haven't finished yet. I've got the Forester here. There wasn't much in the Forester, to be honest. But what I did want to do is just, I went into the local cinema, £4 to see a blockbuster movie, Cinderford Palace, proper place to go, Victorian old school cinema. It highlighted to me how difficult life is at the moment for these small businesses, and therefore I think we should big up some of the businesses that are continuing to go. It is hard work at the moment for everybody. And there you go, Cinderford Palace, £4 to see a blockbuster. I saw Suicide Squad. It reminded me of the introduction to this show. Then just to show that I've got the FT here, a couple of big stories in here. I'm sure that Wendy won't like this, but Grant Shapps is saying that jab-proof for foreign travel is here forever. So I think this is going to be rolling out. Obviously, we've got a situation now where boosters are, a booster program is being designed and developed so that those that had their jabs first off will be getting boosters in September. What a fantastic business for Moderna. They've just posted £2.8 billion profit from making COVID viruses, vaccines, sorry, not the virus. God, that would be a terrible thing. And alongside that story, one to just highlight how difficult the world is. The Rugby League World Cup has been postponed until next year. I think it was the cricket's been postponed until 2023. We're not out of this by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a possibility. Every cloud has a silver lining, and we may actually be able to see some rugby league in the area. So I know there's a big push to get that into Bristol. And I'll be doing my best to try and help that. Obviously, we've got the Lions on Saturday. Look forward to the Welsh guys propping up the team. I'll be taking my holidays this year at Port Call. I was going to go diving in Mexico until I realised the risk, Simon, and I thought, bugger that. It was a cheap holiday at that stage, but best diving in the world is in Mexico, Cozumel, according to the former Jacques Cousteau. But unfortunately, it will be Costa della Port Call for me. And obviously, big news is that the Drybrook has got its fixture list for next year. So at the tender age of 50, David, I am still competing in the front row, as you can tell. Got a face for someone who's had a battle there. But just to finish off, I bought the Sun because you just accused me of not buying enough papers. But I did buy the Sun. I did point out, or I was going to point out the story of Rihanna, but I thought that was she's just become a billionaire from selling lingerie. Much easier business than selling aggregate there, Simon. I'm not sure if you want to go into the lingerie business, but she's just become a billionaire. But you know, how tough is life at the moment? Poor old Wendy traveling, UK tourist industry. They've had COVID to deal with. We've got pingdemic. I'm just off 8 days of self-isolation. Didn't really make much difference to my life, to be honest. But we've now got sharks, and unfortunately, you know, the holiday industry is facing every single thing. I don't think these were particularly big sharks. I think it may have been a little bit of hysteria on Boston Beach there, but it goes to show just how hard life is. And that's me, Mark. 3 minutes exactly.
I think that's the longest 3 minutes. I think you really milked it. I mean, goodness, being on stage, a giant hook would have come across, mate. You know. Thank.
I'd like to provide value for money, Mark.
Yes, you certainly did. You're worth every single penny I paid you. Right, Wendy, let's go back over to you. Unfortunately, Neill has used up all your time. So can you tell us, Wendy, a lot of people don't know that Wotton Travel is actually owned by Rennyshaw. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, okay. So we are 35 years old now. I've been with the company 33 years. It was started when Sir David McMurtry and Alan Roberts, who's the group FD, were on a flight to Tel Aviv, and the guy sat next to them had actually paid less for his air ticket to Tel Aviv than Sir David and Alan had. And a plan was formed that they would actually start their own travel agency in the town of Wotton Edge. And obviously we were created, and we look after all of the UK Rennyshaw business, in a corporate business. We also look after a lot of other big businesses in the area and further afield for their corporate travel. And of course, it's quite clever, really, because all of the money that Rennyshaw spend with us, any profit we make goes back into the Rennyshaw coffers. So it's just consistently turning around. We're wholly owned by them. We're a limited company, so we're classed as a subsidiary. Excuse me. Yeah, so we've been going for many years, but we also have the shop. So we're in Wotton High Street, and we also have the shop that sells holidays. We look after some of the employees, the local people, and it's just a lovely town. Our clients are absolutely fabulous, not traveling at the moment, sadly. We've got some of our corporates have been traveling all the way through, so we have been in the office when we can, my team. And yeah, I mean, I've been in the trade for 42 years, so I love it.
And it is a lovely shop, by the way. I've been there myself, delivering magazines over the years, and pop in and give out the Punchline mag when we used to do it. It must be really tough for you guys not knowing what's going on at the moment with what the government's doing.
It's hard. It's very up and down. Everything changes day by day. Not only do we have to deal with the COVID, we also have to deal with Brexit. So when people are traveling on business and they're going over to maybe work on a machine, they have to have a visa. You know, for business meetings, no, to go into Europe. But if they're going over to do any work, they have to have visas. So we have to contend. Our job role has changed very much so. Whereas to make a booking for a corporate client used to take all of 5 minutes, we're now taking up to an hour, could be even longer, because we're looking at all of the COVID restrictions for them to leave the UK, to enter this country, go into various countries through the world. A lot of countries we can't get them into. We've got people that need to get into America, and we're sending them via Barbados, and they stay in Barbados for about a week and a half to do their isolation there before they're allowed into the States. So we have to work out various different ways to get people in and out of various countries throughout the world. But a lot of our corporates are still quite dormant.
Wendy, thanks ever so much. I'm afraid we don't have enough time to cover it, but if you don't mind, I'd like to bring you back next week and we can cover it a bit more. If that's okay. I'd like to do your own individual Zoom segment tomorrow, next week for Punchline. Would that be okay?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Simon, let's go over to you. Speedy Skips, I know that you had an absolutely stonking, I hate to say stonking COVID, with everybody doing DIY and ripping out their houses and using skips. What's business like now for you guys?
Still the same, really. Relentless demands, supply chain issues. We were talking about holidays. That's really its ugly head. In that, if you took today or this week, we've got 7 skip drivers away all week, because all the holidays have been condensed into the latter part of the year. And that means 50, 60 skips a day less that you can actually do. You know, and when you're doing 250 or 300 skips a day, it knocks it, you know, and you've got to try and, you know, employ more and more people to cover the people that are on holiday and all the rest of it and train them up. So we've got supply chain issues, which we're sort of on top of. Cement's becoming another issue again. the staff shortages hasn't really affected us, not like other businesses. I was talking to a very good friend of mine who's in the same business, and he said that he had 10 skip drivers leave to go for 50 pence more an hour on another job, somewhere in 1 week. So, and we're seeing this, with HS2 and, the Hinkley Point. They got bulldozer drivers or dumper drivers on £26 an hour, and what it's doing is it's just robbing all the labour force and a lot of the Eastern Europeans who have I finished now? Is that?
It's okay. Keep going.
Have gone back home, and they're saying there's 100,000 shortage of drivers in the UK. Touch wood, we've been very good, and we're still employing. We've got a good culture here, and we look after our people and we pay them well. So they tend to stay. But I can imagine a lot of other people are really going through it now. Just to exist. They're going to have to pay more or offer more as an incentive, fringe benefits or whatever it may be.
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? All the prices are going up. So the price of labour is going up. The price of commodities is going up. They're on about in one of the papers about inflation going up, and and it's going to be a real problem because inflation goes up, interest rates will go up.
Yeah, we haven't put our prices of skips or any of the aggregates or anything up yet. And we're behind the times really, because we will be bitten in the arse because inflation will overtake us. I mean, if you took a 6-yard skip physically to buy, used to be £585. It's now £1,420, and you've got to wait 4.5 months for it to be made. So, all of those, I've got 11 lorries on order that were ordered this time last year. It won't be here until December. What business are you going to have in December? How can you plan 18 months, 2 years ahead of yourself in the transport game? It's very, very difficult. There's a lot of issues like that.
Simon, I hear it everywhere. Mate. It's it really, and it's going to get worse. I don't want to be the prophet of doom, but doing this program as I do, I get the opportunity to talk to all business leaders like yourself. How many skips have you got now? Just very quick, is it 5,000?
It's just over. I ordered another 500, so 5,500 now. Yeah, okay. Somewhere around.
Do you own all the skips in the UK now?
No. We're trying. We're very, very trying.
I don't want to say anything. David, everyone else is using yours and Neill's time up, unfortunately. David, can you tell us, please, Cheltenham, how's it bouncing back? What's the footfall figures looking like?
Footfall's actually looking pretty good, Mark. I mean, I think it's a bit mixed picture across the country. I think we're seeing, because of people working from home and obviously that reticence perhaps to sort of travel quite as much, despite what you'd believe in terms of staycation booms and everything else. Elsewhere, people like, I think I've heard from places like Bristol where actually the footfall in the cities, almost as much as half if you've gone down. But in Cheltenham, we've seen actually it's on a few months, certainly more months than not, it's been above 2019 levels, so pre-pandemic levels. So the footfall as such isn't necessarily the challenge. Of course, the challenge is actually conversion into spend, into kind of spend on the high street, the retail pound, etc., and getting people into the businesses. So and I think time will tell on that over the course of the year, really, as to where we are. I think that the vacancy rates, obviously the number of businesses, the number of closures we've got, isn't helping in terms of sort of that incentive to sort of all that perception of what's on offer in the town. Although again, Cheltenham's performing a little bit better than average. We're below the national average in terms of vacancy rates at the moment. Although there obviously are pockets where it's perhaps appears to be more so, but I think that's the challenge really at the moment. The media will have you believe in some ways that we're in the midst of a staycation boom and everything's great and everybody's sort of staying at home and holidaying at home. But actually, at the end of the year, the forecasts are still that the number of visitors, the number of trips that people are going to have made, is still only about 50-60% of what they would have been in 2019. So there's lots of there's some winners and there's lots of losers as well. And I think probably Cheltenham might be about middling. Because we're not that sort of city centre where we're seen as being a little bit claustrophobic and probably doesn't necessarily have anything new to offer. We've got obviously events and festivals that are coming back on stream as well, which is great. But I think we're on for, it's a long road to recovery, and the story that doesn't get told, as Wendy was saying about the opposite side of it, if you like, in terms of the outbound. Of course, it's equally true of the inbound. Our inbound visitor economy is on its knees as well, and there's an enormous amount of hotels or conference centres or whatever it might be that just simply aren't getting that overseas business coming in, and the likelihood is that the lag on that will be even more significant, and I think it'll only be about 30% of what it was in 2019 just for this year alone. And Visit Britain aren't forecasting a return to pre-pandemic levels until 2025 even. So it just goes to show we've got a long road to recovery, really, and we can't just rely on that domestic pound to prop things up.
I just want to say, I think you guys do a fantastic job there in Marketing Cheltenham, mate. I know it's very difficult. We talked lots in the past, but keep it going. I know it's difficult, and well done, Dave. Thanks for this. Neill, let's turn to you. You've been in the news yourself a number of times this week with HS2. Funny enough, do you want to explain a little bit about that and what's going to happen next? You're still mute, Neill.
Very quickly.
I'm going to have to wrap it up quickly there. That's a problem. You used up all your time earlier.
So we've been on here a few times, so don't need to talk about Versarien. It's a innovation company leading the charge on graphene. This week was pretty important for us. We HS2 announced that we're going to be part of a program where we're making 3D printed concrete, and the environmental benefit of that is huge. I was going to talk earlier about the climate crisis we're going on, the very changeable weather that we're seeing across the world. We're creating a fantastic perfect storm in terms of things like the wildfires. And this is a real opportunity for technology to take the lead across a variety of different areas, including packaging, concrete, tires, electric vehicles. And so this is the time for this particular type of technology. So that's all I'm going to say, Mark, because I know you're tight for time. Thanks
very much, Neill, and congratulations with that, because it's a huge win to get graphene in concrete in HS2. And I just hope that we can, that you get more and more people know about it and understand it. I'm trying to help push that forward as well. What we're going to do, Mark, is as soon as we get the machine on its way in and we get it, we're going to do a video of you up to your eyes in concrete. We'll give you some special boots, and you can come and join us and make what I want to actually do as one of the first projects is a housing pod that can be used for disaster relief or the homeless situation that we find ourselves in at the moment. And so I want you to come down and actually put your boots on, and we'll even give you a hard hat. I'll do anything for a hard hat and a yellow Viz jacket. Anybody who knows me well knows that I really wanted to be a builder when I was little. Anyway, let's quickly rush through what's caught your eye in Punchline, please. We've only got like 3 or 4 minutes. Wendy, what's caught your eye in this week's Punch, please?
Lufthansa returning to Bristol Airport. They were supposed to come back last year, or maybe even the year before. I've lost count now because we've lost so much of our lives in this 18 months or so. But they've returned to Bristol Airport, so they're now flying from Bristol to Frankfurt. And let's hope that soon we can start filling those planes.
No, that'd be absolutely fantastic. I totally agree with you. I thought it was a second airline that were back there as well. Simon, what's caught your eye in this week's Punch, please?
Mighty have bought Dale Ventures, a mobile phone infrastructure company, which I saw on your Punchline about 3 minutes ago. So no, I think they're gradually buying up infrastructure businesses, and it's a good addition to theirs. Lots of synergies. Makes a lot of sense. The other thing I forgot to say, if I can quickly mention it, is that we are just about to invest about £4 million in a new washing plant here in Gloucester, which will create another 15 jobs at this business, and we'll be producing about 800 tonne of recycled aggregate per day.
Fantastic. Let's catch up later on about that, can we, Simon, on Monday?
Okay, thank you.
David, what's caught your eye in this week's Punch, please?
Yeah, I think the story, I mean, obvious that I would raise this perhaps, but the story from Perry Bishop about the buoyancy in the sort of property market and people relocating to Cheltenham, which we sort of read that story once or twice over the course of the last couple of years as we've seen that trend of people coming out of the cities perhaps. But it's great to see that things are genuinely buoyant in the market. But I suppose on the flip side, there's been other stories this week as well about the kind of blended working and the flexible working. Rishi talking about encouraging young people to go into the office and things like that. So I think the other side of it as well, and picking up on Neill's point about the Golden Valley development, obviously, is let's try and retain some of that youth, some of that younger people in the area, rather than encouraging perhaps professionals and other people to come away from the cities once they've earned their money into Cheltenham. But actually, we need to retain some of that youth in the first instance, and things like the Golden Valley development is going to be crucial to that. So hopefully positives to come.
Thanks very much, David. Couldn't agree more. Neill, final wrap up.
I mean, it's a tough time for everybody. None so more than the charities. I'd like to mention Cobalt, who are running a photo competition. I love a bit of photography myself. For £2, you can enter, potentially win a nice camera. But more importantly, they need to raise £28,000 a year to support under 16s in kind of cancer care and help. And I'd like everybody on the panel to put their £2 into that. Simon, you can put 4, okay, because we'll add that as a square box, and enter this competition. No matter how bonkers your photos are, I think it's well worth. For you, Mark, there's a category especially for you, which is happiness is. Okay, so if we could have a smile, that'd be just great.
There we go, guys. Thanks ever so much for joining Punch. Sorry, Simon, put your hand up.
Interject there quickly. I forgot, actually, we are sponsoring a big cycling event for Sue Ryder this Sunday. There's over 2,000 riders and they're riding 125 miles, I think, for Sue Ryder and all their charities, and with a main sponsor helping out there. So if you could support that as well, that's great.
Yeah, nice job there, Simon. We've tried to give it a big push on Punch over the last couple of weeks as well. Guys, thanks ever so much. The story that caught my eye this week is actually one from yesterday or a couple of days ago. Was Nick's Timber, biggest sales growth in 165 years, and also the shortage of wood that is out there as well, which is having a massive effect on the construction industry and other industries as well. And it's typical, isn't it? When I got a few fence panels down, the price is going to rocket. But there you go. That's life. Thanks ever so much for joining Punchline Talks today. Fantastic to see you all. Be safe. Bye.
Bye.